Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What Ted Says, where it's always time to get a fatter wallet and a bigger net worth. And you know what? With all of these states that have been passing betting rules so you can have legalized gambling, I thought one of the things that would be important to cover here on What Ted Says is just to talk about if you have a gambling addiction or a real gambling problem, because you may plan to spend your entertainment budget this year on a trip to a casino or for a girls' night out or a bachelor party in Las Vegas. Yeah, come on. But for many people, it may be a pleasant, controlled, and a really fun vacation or type of activity. But I have found over the years that these situations can get out of hand for some individuals, especially for somebody who's struggling with a gambling problem, because hardly anybody really wants to talk about it. I'm going to give you 5 big warning signs that may change your life or somebody you know who's got a gambling problem or a gambling addiction. So let's just start from the top in here. Compulsive gambling is really a type of behavioral addiction. You know, sometimes people don't know what an addiction means, but it's where an individual has a sort of a pathological consumption to wager or to bet. And the addiction to gambling can become very destructive. I've seen it happen to people before, but the gambler continues despite the negative consequences, i.e. you lose money, but you keep gambling. But it's really common. You know, I found out that about 86% of adults that take part in the activity of gambling at some point in their lives, and 52%, it's almost 1 out of 2 people, report lottery gambling in the last year. So the rate of gambling addiction worldwide, it varies. In some cases, it's less than 0.2%, and in some cases, it's almost 6%. But in the United States, it's in that 2 to 5% range. I mean, think about that. 5% of the people in America having a gambling addiction. So a large review of gambling studies found here are what are the most frequent gambling activities. Lottery, scratch cards, makes sense. Don't buy your Swisher Sweets there. Sports betting, and then gambling machines. Shh, pull that slot machine. So gambling addiction, in my opinion, it's not an accident. I'd mentioned this, but it's kind of based on this psychological principle that's known as the variable ratio reinforcement schedule, or VRRS. And this is where mood stimulating rewards are variable and they're unpredictable. Why do you think slot machines are the way they are? The bells, the lights, and how the wheels rotate. The VRRS structure, it's long been recognized as a compulsion inducing system. Ever see someone lose money and then they're like, double or nothing, double or nothing, double or nothing? That is a real gambling problem. And people that have a problem or an addiction, they deny that they often have a problem, but friends and family and people take notice of the issue. You know, there's a difference of making a simple bet on DraftKings and then somebody that you've got to do a DraftKings every day. It's like smoking or alcohol. That addiction can become evident in people who become pathological gamblers. So here are warning signs that I want you to look out for. Number 1, you lie about your gambling habits. Lying in all cases in an addiction, it's a core symptom and behavior, and it's no exception when you do it with gambling. So the obsession and compulsion to gamble is so strong that this person will go to any lengths to place the next bet whatsoever. Number 2, you gamble more than you can afford to lose. Look, a casual gambler may spend some of their money on gambling activities, but when their losses are more than they're willing to spend, then they stop. It's often characterized by the inability to control or stop gambling, and their gambling will continue even after losing more money than the gambler can afford. You know, gambling on number 3, that negatively affects your emotions. Like other forms of process addiction, compulsive gambling is a dysfunctional coping mechanism, and it's used to mask negative emotions. Sometimes people call it a vice, and distract and escape from life stressors and problems. Like even if somebody's gambling and they're using it to avoid their emotions, the negative effects of gambling include real emotional side effects. You can see this in people's mood all the time. You must know somebody that this has happened to. And the gambling activity causes the production and release of the brain's feel-good chemicals. Some people call this neurotransmitters, which are part of the brain's reward system. And the result is that gambling makes the person feel good for a little while, sometimes like when you buy something, but eventually it does not offset those negative emotions. So number 4 in here is you borrow money to pay for gambling. Did you ever have somebody tell you, look, I've got an easy money I can make, loan me $100 or $200? Because borrowing money to gamble is a major part of the financial downfall that problem gamblers or addicts often face. They'll use normal ways of borrowing money, such as a line of credit, a bank loan, maybe even second mortgaging their house. Say it isn't so, but that happens. And after that, guess what? Then they go to people like pawnbrokers or ultra high interest loans or loan sharks and even credit cards and payday loans. All of these things make you so desperate to continue gambling that you'll go to any length to get more money. That's a real problem. And number 5 on here is something known as chasing. Chase me. Not good when it comes to gambling because people attempt to recover losses by gambling more. And this feature, as I mentioned, known as chasing, is very, very dangerous because as losses continue to accumulate, compulsive gamblers maintain the belief that just one more bet on Tom Brady is all they need to win back everything. And instead, what often happens is they continue to lose and they never recover their money. You know, in the end, I made this What Ted Says video because gambling is real. And for some people, it is just fun. They know when to stop, but it's often defined by the inability to stop or even control your behavior at all. And individuals that you know that may be affected by gambling addiction, they just can't stop gambling. They can try and many times cut back. Sometimes it's like cigarettes or alcohol, and they may succeed for a little while, but they always go back. I think at the end of the day, with the right help, and this is a big financial move for you to get a fatter wallet and a bigger net worth. It's not gambling, but getting the right help as a pathological gambler, you can eventually recover. And so if you find yourself having gone beyond casual gambling, it might be time to get that help. And that help is so valuable to spend your money on, because if you're starting from ground zero and you've lost money on gambling, look, I set something up in here on where you should start the second time around, which is my top rated What Ted Says video on how to set up a family budget. That's one that you have to watch, because with all the online sports betting and gambling available today, I just thought this would be so important. That's why I put this video together. Leave me comments. I mean, have you ever dealt with somebody who's had a gambling problem or an addict? And what did you do? How did you deal with it? I want to help more people in this country get a fatter wallet and a bigger net worth. Do it the right way. If there was easy money, everyone would be getting it. But thanks as always as watching this episode of What Ted Says.